Ladies and gentlemen, back at it one more again. Here he is, Kevin.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's Behind the Velvet Rope, episode 7. Class is in session. Cheers to you. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you, Andrew, my producer, for being here.
Cheers, mate.
All right, we are going to talk about drinking. And yeah, there's a lot of times we're going to go back and forth between episodes. Little things will get brought up and we'll say, hey, there's an episode coming up. This is one of those episodes. Drinking alert. Be careful when you come to the club who you're drinking with. There are guys that hang out at these bars 5-6 nights a week, and they will drink you under the table. And yeah, it's fine. You're having a good time. It's your one night out a month or whatever. You don't get it out as much. But you got to know when to say when, because you don't want to make an ass of yourself. Now, if you try and drink with these professional drinkers, just a couple weeks ago at the club I work at, we had a guy didn't pass out once. He passed out twice in the urinal, in the men's room, which disgusting on so many levels. We had to carry him out and put him in a cab. And it wasn't like normally people said, hey, we're going to call you a cab. No. We had to put him in a cab because he tried to drink with the wrong people, and he thought he was keeping up, and then boom, he wasn't. He was in the bathroom, and he wasn't puking. He was just out of it. And maybe he might have mixed some pills with his booze, which sometimes happens. By the way, also speaking of drinking alert, do not mix things with your alcohol that are going to cause adverse effects, because you don't want to, again, be that guy.
That's another episode.
Yeah, it is coming up. But, you don't want to drink to where you're puking. You don't want to make an ass of yourself. And you don't want to ruin your night. That's the bottom line. It's one of those things. Listen to the staff. If they cut you off, don't argue, don't cry. Don't try and steal booze off other people's tables. You see that all the time, too. Like, I'm cut off. Ooh, that looks like half a screwdriver. I think I'll finish that guy's drink. That can cause a riot in some states, so be careful doing that. But when you're cut off, acknowledge it. Have enough of your sober self still inside your drunk self to acknowledge you're cut off. They're looking out for you because that is the staff's job. Ultimately, look out for entertainers and customers.
Well, I mean, you've kind of touched on almost everything with Drink Alert. Almost.
I'm not all the way there yet. We got other things to take care of and talk about. Like when the staff brings up a taxi or Uber, they don't want you to get a DUI. They're expensive, and they reflect poorly on the establishment as well. Now, here's the deal. DUIs, pain in the ass, not good. Do not get one. Take your Uber, take your taxi. But the other thing is you don't realize our job, if you drive after we've offered you a cab, after we've offered you an Uber, we know you're too drunk to drive. Our job is to protect the liquor license. You get in your little truck or car and drive away. Our job is to call the local PD and say, hey, they're driving this. They just went that direction. They're doing this. Because otherwise, if they get in a wreck, our club is liable. If we call the law because you drove when you weren't supposed to, that takes us off some of the liability. There's still liability for over-serving, but that's a whole nother issue in another episode. But don't try and drive. They can't physically make you not drive. They can't physically take your keys. You're right. But they can physically call the cops on you, and you will get a DUI, and that will cost you $10,000 or more depending on the state you're at. And you just don't want to do that. Talk about wrecking a good night out on the town.
I mean, that's its implications on your job, your personal life. It's hell.
Years ago,
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's bad.
I worked with a guy in radio years ago that was a promising production and promotions guy, and he got a DUI and wasn't allowed to drive the station vehicles, and that was it. He was done. So listen to the staff, and they say, you're too drunk to drive. And believe me, the staff are experts in what's too drunk to drive. They know when you've had too much. You can't try and fake sober with them. Don't try and fake sober. You're not it. And it all comes back to know who you're drinking with. Pace yourself. Know your own limitations personally. Just because the guy at the end of the bar can sit there and do 15 shots of Jaeger and not look like he's hammered, what you may not know about that guy is he has a standard ride coming to get him every night. He doesn't drive. He gets hammered because he knows he goes out and that's his plan. He's got an Uber that's scheduled to pick him up at, say, 10 o'clock.
That's me.
There you go.
With my job, if I'm going out, I know I'm going to be drinking. I don't even, my keys stay here at the house, and I Uber everywhere.
Well, that is a sign of intelligence. You got to do that. There's no excuse to drink and drive now. Sam Kinison used to have a bit years ago where it was like, hey, that's how we get our cars home. Well, your car is safe in the parking lot at the club. Every single gentleman's club you can think of has cameras in their lots. It's safer there than you are getting on the road. But leave your car in the parking lot. Security's there till 3 or 4 in the morning. And most clubs open at 11 or noon or whatever. So there's people there all the time. Your car's not going to get busted into. And if it does, it's still cheaper than a DUI. And it's on camera. They're going to catch whoever did it.
And then back to your drink alert there. We may have or may not have touched on something in some previous episodes of the ladies, the dancers are professional drinkers as well.
Oh, absolutely they are.
So don't try and outdrink them either.
No, just drink to your. The only person you're competing with is yourself. Get your own buzz on. You're not competing with the girl at the end of the bar in a thong. You're not competing with the fat guy in the Bama jersey. You're drinking to make yourself have a good time. If you start competing and trying to match the girl or the guy or whoever in the bar shot for shot, long run, they drink professionally. You don't. You will suffer for it.
I've seen it.
Oh, we've all seen it. And, like I say, you don't want to be the guy puking in the bathroom. You don't want to be the guy, oh, my God, passed out in a urinal. It's gross. And those urinal cakes make a crappy pillow from what I've heard.
Well, I mean, they don't smell horrible.
No, they're minty. But here's the deal. Like I say, you don't want to be that guy. And if it happens, everybody has a bad night where they drink on an empty stomach or whatever. No one's going to judge you at any club you go to. But just be aware of who you're drinking with when your night is starting. If you look at a guy that's already 7 shots in and he's still able to say the alphabet backwards and watch the game, talk to the girl, and still tipping everybody and focused, that's not the guy you want to drink with. You might want to hang with him. He's going to be a blast. But don't try and keep up with him.
And don't rely on the old sayings like beer before liquor, never been sicker. Liquor before beer, you'll have no fear. Don't rely on that.
Yeah,
that's a bunch of crap.
That is crap. It will not work. And again, the other thing is don't mix your alcohol. Some of these professional drinkers do it because they think it's funny. We had to carry a kid to the car because he was drinking one of our professionals. This guy's like, hey, let's have a shot of whiskey. Ooh, now let's do a shot of vodka. And then it was tequila. And then it was Rumplemans. Mixing shots never, ever, ever ends well. That's a fact. But there are people that will do it. And there's people that will do it because they think it's funny to mess with you because they don't know you. They just want to see how drunk they can get you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know someone that has done that to us both before.
Oh, it happens. It's the way it is. But,
just giggles every time we take a shot.
Oh, yeah, you know it. He's a bad influence. But you know what? He's an enabler, and we like him for that, too, because he's a fun guy in the bar. But if you know who you're drinking with, you can pace yourself. But if you don't know, if you say it's your first time ever in a gentleman's club, you kind of want to come in low-key anyway and just not be the loud drunk at the end of the bar. Like I say, it's a drinking alert. You drink with the wrong people, and you're that guy making an ass of himself or making himself sick or getting a DUI if you don't listen to the bartender or security and they're like, hey, we're going to get you a cab. You've had too much.
I mean, my personal advice is it's not necessarily going to keep you from staying, sober or getting drunk, but it will pace you to last longer if you're at the club. Basically, every time you do a drink, doesn't matter what it is, shot, liquor drink, mixed drink, or beer. Once you do one of those, drink of water. It doesn't have to be a bottle of water.
See, I think that's another wives' tale, though. That's a little
like I said, it does not kill, but it does because of the time consumption. It takes you to drink the water. It makes you last longer.
Maybe you can last a little longer, but it doesn't have to be water. It can be Coke. It can be juice.
Correct.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Because everybody looks at you funny if you're drinking water in a bar. It's just the way it is. Oh, you're the designated driver? Thanks for staying hydrated.
It's all going to, I mean, you're going to, scientifically, alcohol is going to be expelling it from your body anyway, so to take it back in actually helps you out.
But
anyway.
It does take your body a lot. You can produce, your body will, consume 2 drinks per hour and get rid of that alcohol. If you start drinking more than 2 drinks an hour, it's going to affect you more. And that's a fact.
Hey, we're talking about drink alert. So I figured, if somebody wants to last longer, give a little knowledge for them.
Little knowledge, and everybody's going to find their own drinking system. If you don't already have one, get one. But that's about it for episode 7, Behind the Velvet Rope. I'm Kevin. Class dismissed.